Hey there, content creators. Christopher here, and today I want to talk about something. I might talk about this in two parts, actually, but I want to talk about what a time it is to be alive. And this is something that I just see people taking for granted so much. And I will get to, like I said, I might do this in one part, I might do this in two parts. The reason I'm thinking two parts is because I also want to kind of give a warning about people who will try and talk you out of all the wonderful opportunities that you have and give you reasons why you shouldn't be excited or why you should think everything's terrible and nothing's ever going to happen for you or you can't make things happen for yourself. And that's bull. And I've encountered these people throughout my life. I've listened to these people. Some of them have been longtime friends, and whether they meant well or not, I don't know. But the fact is that they let me believe certain things, or they led me to believe certain things, or they just drew me into their crappy attitude, which made it so that opportunities that were there in front of me all the time were either invisible to me or I passed them by because I was convinced they were not what they seemed. But first, I want to talk about just how lucky we are right now to be content creators, filmmakers, musicians, artists in this time, in this place. And it's miraculous. I mean, this is nothing short of a miracle. Now, I know the word miracle is not everyone's cup of tea because they want to believe that they're more scientific. But look, 90% of what we think is science right now is just more, either at best, hypothesizing, imagination based on certain things we've observed. But it's not provable. It's probably not even true. 90% of it. Forget about it. Don't assume you know a bunch and don't point at something and go, science this. Science is just a method, all right? That's called the scientific method for a reason. Science is a method of hypothesizing and getting yourself to a place where you can kind of move forward. But the fact is that you have to discover along the way where you're wrong, where you're right, where it's working, where it's not, and adjust. That's where the imagination comes in. That's where you have to have faith in your talent, your ability to create. That's so important. But even more important is keep in mind that so far, science has gotten to us to a certain point. And whether it's based on fallacies or blind luck, or, we're getting some things right, but maybe we're not right for the reasons we think we are. Who knows? It's not important. Most of the stuff isn't important. Again, 90% isn't important. What's important is what are you going to do with it? We are a product of a miracle. And that miracle might be the Big Bang. Even that is not proven. The idea that there was once nothing, absolutely nothing. And then suddenly there was something. And that something was matter. And then matter started condensing into stars and quasars and black holes and this thing called gravity and these forces. And then suddenly there are planets orbiting. And on these planets there are magnetic fields that somehow miraculously keep an atmosphere from blowing off into space or being just destroyed by the radiation of the universe. And within that, somehow matter started to coalesce into microorganisms and supposedly evolved. And who knows if that's true, because for all the theories of evolution, none of them have been proven. People like to think that there is plenty of evidence, and maybe they're right, but at this point in time, it's still mostly speculation. That's what they do not tell you. Most of the science that they tell you is mostly speculation. But it's gotten to us to a certain point. It doesn't matter if it's right or not. The fact is, again, somehow we're here. And not only are we here, but we managed to be here in a certain point in our history where we're not suffering as much. We're not dealing with 40-year lifespans. We're not dealing with having to hunt for our food, to gather, to fend off predators, to have to have 10 children because, maybe 2 of them might survive, and worry if your wife is going to die in childbirth. We live in a time where food is available on almost every street corner. You can find food. You can live in a place where if it's too cold, you don't have to worry about freezing to death. You can just turn on the heat. If it's too hot, you don't have to worry about heat exhaustion. You can turn on the air. You can find water. It comes out of your tap. Because there are people creating these infrastructures that are infinitely strong. And we take that for granted. Some people even are kind of counterintuitive. They want to create circumstances where they destroy that, and then we have to fight about it. I don't understand. I don't understand that we live in the generation where all the information that we could possibly ever want is in our pockets. I'm talking to you right now through my phone. Now, a lot of that information, again, is wrong. 90% of it is wrong. That's, again, where the imagination has to come into play, where your creativity, where you have to be smart. And you have to understand that you are responsible for taking all this information and making something out of it. A lot of people seem to think that the logical response to all this information is disproportionate rage and anger or disproportionate fear. That's not going to get you anywhere. And again, I'm going to talk more about those people in a bit because they are antithetical to what you as a content creator should be thinking about. But it's incredible. I mean, I don't know, in the 90s, the 3D technology that we see people using on shows like The Mandalorian, and thank you to my friend Daniel Fox for pointing this out. Chet Noir Productions in England, by the way. Very smart guy, very talented filmmaker. This technology was not available to us in the 90s. And it didn't even exist in the 60s when people were making films. Back, if you wanted to make content, if you wanted to be a filmmaker, you had to get into Hollywood. You had to get into television. Now you don't have to do that. Now we have computers. We have open source technology. We can make 3D graphics from our home. We can have a green screen in our home. We can make films with our phones. We can get DSLR cameras. We can get Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras. I've got one. All the information on how to do this stuff is available, whether through paid lessons like Stan Winston School of Character Arts or Masterclass or anything like that. That information is there. It's on YouTube. We have everything we need. We have more than everything we need. We have more at our disposal than the filmmakers of all the past decades who do all this stuff that we admire. And yet we see so much low quality stuff because people are always thinking it's the new gadget, it's the new this, I don't have this. If only I had this, my life is so troublesome. I indulge in these things because I'm unhappy and it's all I have in this I'm going into what I'm going to talk about later about the people who are antithetical to what you want. The point is we live in a miracle. And while there are people who can work out the mathematics and the chemistry to put together something like a phone or a camera, the fact is, if you really dive into this, just like crystals and chemical reactions and electrical impulses, whether we're talking about in our brain or the fact that we can put them together into a phone or a camera or a light or sound equipment or whatever, it is miraculous. And if you do not take advantage of this to create the things that you want to do, and you choose otherwise to complain that there's some reason why it can't be done, or it's not getting done, or it's wrong to do it, then you are a fool. And I know I'm getting I'm getting kind of worked up because I see this all the time. And it irritates me because yes, it's difficult. And this is the other excuse people like, again, it's taking too long. Okay, yes, I've been working on a movie for 5 years now. It's probably going to be in its 6th year when you finally do see the completed movie. I'm happy to say that I do actually have a watchable movie now with audio and all that stuff. It's just being cleaned up. It's getting done not just because I had access. It got done because I had access to all this stuff, and I knew it, and I recognized it, and I was willing to put in the work, and I wanted to get it as good as it could be. It was a big learning process for me, and people told me I should give it up. I should let it go. It's taking too long. And, it's embarrassing. It's going to this, that. You're being a terrible person. Your family is suffering because of what you are. Like, screw you. My family is not suffering. My family is very happy. My family's been very excited about this the entire time. And I've heard this from several people trying to make me feel like I've been told I am a bad father for creating the things that I create and living the life that I live. But you look at my children, they're happy. They're fed. They're in a wonderful home. They're in a wonderful school. They're doing well in their school. They have 2 parents who are emotionally available for them at all times, help them in every single way. They do not want for anything. They do not want for food. And do they see struggle? Is life 100% easy for them all the time? No, it's not, nor should it be. You can't coddle your children. They have to go through stuff, take their lumps, do without sometimes, all that stuff, so they can grow, so they can learn. But they can also watch their parents work hard for something, sometimes do without, and again, doing without in this generation is freaking nothing. Doing without 150 years ago meant that you could possibly starve to death. Nobody's starving to death now. I see even homeless people that are overweight. And we have enough abundance that homeless people panhandling, they may not be living an ideal life. They may have health issues. They may have mental issues. But the fact is that there are people with enough abundance that every day they're handed money. They're handed food. I mean, that is miraculous. That did not happen way back when. We could have been born in a time where if you were homeless, you had leprosy and you died at 12, or whatever. I don't know. We have accomplished so much as a society, and we can accomplish so much more if we just look at what we have and not be afraid to use it and not feel bad about having it, not feel look at all these negative things about it. There's negative consequences to everything. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That seems to be a scientific reality. Again, it's a basic one. It's an old one. But, you want to drive a car, there's going to be exhaust coming out of the car. You want this idea that we can have all the good and none of the bad. That is, it's ridiculous. It's asinine. It's stupid. It's this idea of zero emission renewable energy. There's always going to be some opposite reaction. The key is learning how to deal with it, learning how to cope with it, learning that it's part of life, and you make that work for you. And if that wasn't a reality, then there'd be no point in making art at all, using this technology, because we are telling stories. And what are stories? Stories are conflict. Conflict is what our lives are. It's the human condition, and it is what makes us grow. What makes us interesting. And that is so important to understand. If you're not interesting, if we don't have conflict, then why would we bother to make this stuff? Because no one would want to watch it. But we're magnificent, we're interesting, and we've got a lot going on for us. And it is a miracle that we are here. I cannot stress that enough. It is a miracle that we are here at all, and that we have all this stuff, and that, the idea of machines could go from the steam engine to the film camera, and then suddenly we have Star Wars, we have Jurassic Park, we have Lord of the Rings as movie forms, and we are just bursting with ideas and thoughts, and we are self-aware, and this is just vital to understand. Don't get hung up on, well, this isn't the way they did it back then, or these newfangled contraptions are making things too easy for the kids, and what they need is, forget all that. We have it. Use it. Don't feel bad about using it. Don't feel bad that it might not be the top of the line thing that you need. Can't stress this enough. We live in a miracle. We should be able to utilize everything we can from it. Don't question how it got here. There are other people, scientists and mechanics and plumbers, making our life better. We should be so grateful to them. We should not take that for granted at any time, and we should take everything that they've given us and utilize it to create something that is magical, that'll inspire the next generation of thinkers and creators. And that's what I love about Star Trek. Star Trek isn't the perfect show. I don't idolize Star Trek like a lot of people do. I enjoy Star Trek. But, the truth is that people looked at the stuff on that show and went, hey, maybe we can build that. So, was it Ray Bradbury said science fiction is one day will be science reality. We're writing ourselves into reality. And that's a responsibility. And so part 2. Let's go to part 2. Should I cut off? Should I tell you to wait for the next part? I don't know. Let's see. I've got about 10 minutes left. So are we going to part 2, or is this just the second part, part 1? So here we go. There are people that are not going to help you as a content creator, and you should avoid at all costs. And they can come in they can come in the form of an antagonist, someone you don't like. They can come in the form of family. They can come in the form of friends. They can be well-meaning, or they can act like they're well-meaning but secretly be bitter and malicious. And the fact is, you don't know. You just have to understand how they operate, and you have to understand not to fall for that. The most kind of in-your-face example, I guess the best way of saying it, is the abusive significant other. And believe me, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, it's obvious that it's not a gender thing. Even same-sex couples have abusive relationships sometimes. It's not a gender thing. It's just an abusive relationship. But for the point of this, I'll just use the abusive boyfriend, because I have seen this before. It's the idea of a relationship which starts out great, and the woman absolutely loves the guy and he's charming, but over time he changes and he starts to become abusive. First verbally abusive, then physically abusive, until you see this girl with black eyes and you go, why is she staying with him? Well, it's because she believed in the person that she first got to know. She had this idealized version of this person who behaved a certain way to get her to be with him. And then over time, his true nature came out. His true negativity came out. But she still was in love with the original idea. And so she remained loyal. And he would continue to abuse her. And then he would start to tell her she was the bad person. It was her fault that he had to beat her. And then when she finally goes away, he starts going around and poisoning the well all around about her, because how dare she leave him? And he'd start to beg her back, but then that begging back would become like, well, you're the bad person in this relationship. And that's damaging. It takes a long time to heal from mentally. And that's a lot of what I want to warn you about, because that's the obvious version of what you will, see as a toxic relationship. But it comes in many forms. It comes in the forms of people like, right now I notice, I have a saying, never take life advice from broke communists who don't understand why they're broke. That's number one. You got a lot of people around who are in a rut themselves, and they don't understand why they're in that rut. They're blaming someone else. Well, I would be further along if, rich people, am I right? They're keeping me down. No, they're not, okay? You have all these amenities that I've been talking about. Rich people are not keeping you down. Rich people are competing with you, and poor people are competing with you and becoming rich. It's a competition. This is what I talked to. This is why I interviewed Michelle Malone from fee.org. We're in the free market, which is wonderful. The free market is the reason why we have this equipment, because people compete and they improve and they try and bring down their costs, so you'll buy their thing, and it works for us. It's beneficial to us. No one's keeping you down. They're competing with you. And that might feel sometimes like they're keeping down, but the number one enemy for these people is themselves. They want to lament, they want to point at stuff. They find things on Facebook every day to complain about, to say it's this, person, whatever. I guarantee you, if you take that attitude, or if you let someone convince you to take that attitude, there is someone else who is completely forgotten about all that bull, and they are getting ahead of you right now. They are competing with you. And then you'll point to them and say, they're keeping me down. No, that could be you. Go be that person. Don't be afraid. Don't lock yourself in the house. I know a lot of people are afraid of COVID at the moment. I guarantee you right now there's someone who is like, freaking forget about COVID. I'm going to do what I need to do to be successful. If you're waiting for COVID to be over, or waiting for any other thing to be over or to happen, you're going to be waiting for a long time, while those other people who decided it didn't matter if they waited for it, or if they were afraid of it or not, they were just going to go do what they were going to do. They went and did it, and that's why they're ahead of you. That's the only reason. And if you're, spending money on too much alcohol, and I love wine, okay? I'm not going to say don't have your things that you get on a daily basis that are gratifying, or I like a drink of wine at night. Buy that nice art book that excites you, or that movie with the behind the scenes that excites you. Absolutely. But if you are one of these people that's just constantly seeking out instant gratification, and you're spending your money on it, you're spending all your time on it, well, that's another problem. That's sucking away from you all sorts of time and resources that you could be using to get what you want. And if you get what you want and you make a lot of money, then yeah, you can get as much of the statues, Funko Pop dolls, whatever thing, alcohol, whatever it might be. But now, try sacrificing a little bit. There's a reason why sacrifice is so big in religious cultures. It's not about the joy of knifing someone and cutting out their heart. It's a metaphor. Sacrifice brings what you want. It appeases the gods. In this case, the gods are your goals. Be willing to sacrifice a little. Be willing to do without a thing so you can accomplish your goal. And there are a lot of people that I don't know, I saw something. I boggled my mind. It's like, I buy things that I don't need so I can, feel happy because in the time that I'm not successful. It's like, that is why you're not successful. You're your own problem. You're your own worst enemy. Stop it. The other thing that I want to talk about is what I call vampire people. There are other creative people out there. They'll say they want the same things that you want. They say they want to be successful. But what you got to watch out for is you start realizing that they have different ideas than you about what they want. That's fine. You partner up with people. That is fine. But if they start taking you away from the direction that you want to go, then that's not the partnership for you, you know. And that's fine. That is just fine. That in itself is not a toxic idea. What is toxic is when they start poisoning the well. They start being showing apathy towards the things that excite you, and they want to steer you towards the things that they excite them. Again, this is kind of this abusive behavior. This is like, oh yeah, that thing you like, I guess that's okay. And you go like, what do you mean? Is there something wrong? Oh no, it's, well, you know, or that person you're hanging out with, you know, I get it. I've seen people like that. I have a vibe about that, and I don't think that person's the kind of person you, or I don't think you should go in that direction. Don't go to this place, and then you find out that they went to that place and they failed. So they don't like the idea that if the people that they tried to associate with, or the places they tried to be successful, or the things they did and they failed, they don't want to see you be successful by it, or with it, because then that makes them feel like, wait a minute, no, if I wasn't successful, then other people can't successful, because obviously it wasn't something wrong with me, it was something wrong with that thing. And after a while, they'll start to make you feel less than. Like, no, they're the smart one. You need to be doing what they want. You need to, you know. And after a while, you realize that, no, I should be doing something in my own self-interest, something that I feel is worth my time, not this other person's thing. And you'll know this person because they will get mad at you for feeling that way. And, you know, look at that person's life. Look at who they associate with, or have trouble associating with. You usually find these people have a trail of broken relationships behind them. It's like a trail of destruction, like a hurricane or a tornado. It's like a trail of broken relationships where there was always a problem with those other people. It's like, this person is, you know, this, or this person is that. And you realize it wasn't those people. It was the fact that they can't deal. Everyone's got something that's hard to deal with, or you're never going to meet the perfect partner or the perfect people to work with. Everyone has something or another that's difficult to get along with. You have to learn to work with those people or not work with those people. You have to take the good with the bad. But a lot of people just look at the bad and go, I've got to walk away from that. And so do you, because I wasn't successful at it. No, you got to wade through that stuff. Anyway, I could go on about it. If there's something I haven't mentioned before, please leave it in the comments. Some kind of sociopathic behavior that people try and detract from the miracle of everything that we can accomplish, or detract from the thing that is your vision because it doesn't fit with their worldview. It's not about a worldview. It's not about preaching or propagandizing. It's about accomplishing your vision, and don't let people devalue that vision. It has worth. You have worth, and you have all the tools in this miraculous time to make it happen before life is over. You don't want to waste that, because as far as we know, it's all we get. So make the most of it. Enjoy it. Have it be an experience. Make it experience for everyone else. And, God bless you guys. Go with the miracle. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks, everyone. Till next time.